Hello, everyone. We're letting more people to dial in, but thanks for joining us. I'm Holly. I'm the co-founder at EllaOla. Today, I'm joined with Liliana. She has been a dietitian, worked for Boston Children's Hospital for over 15 years, and now she's the founder of Engaging Nutrition. So today she'll be covering lots of questions you might have for your little one, such as if they need a multivitamin, what multivitamin is great for them, even some tips for selective eaters. And for housekeeping item, so we will be running a giveaway towards the end. So if you stay to the end, we will announce the winner for both EllaOla, the toddler one, and also the kids one, and also a skincare gift set. So stay tuned. We will announce the winner towards the end.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Liana DeLoid. I'm a registered and licensed dietitian. I have my master's in nutrition. And as Holly mentioned, I'm really excited today to present to you guys. We're going to cover a couple different pieces of, feeding your young child, how to manage selective eaters, does your child need a multivitamin, and more. My private practice is on the North Shore in Massachusetts in Marblehead. And I have been practicing as a dietitian since 2005. I've been at Boston Children's Hospital for 16 years now, which has been really special and rewarding. And in my practice, I've been focusing more on health promotion. So this is how Holly and I have connected, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys today. Some of the objectives, the main points that we're going to cover today are some tips for selective eaters. I like to refer to the picky eaters as selective eaters. It sounds a little bit more positive. We'll talk a little bit about feeding practices and how we can solve some of the issues around feeding. I will touch upon multivitamins, and in my experience, is it helpful to start them on one? Why would we? Sort of the disadvantages and the benefits of that. And then we'll talk about sort of how to optimize your child's diet. And I really like to also mention a positive focus on the relationship with food. And then we'll get into a little bit more detail about the specific multivitamins. We will be taking questions at the end, so feel free to write your question in the chat. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Ellen Satter. She is a well-known dietitian and social worker, actually. And she has the Ellen Satter Institute. Her first name is EllaYN, with some really great resources. She coins the term the division of responsibility, which I'll explain a little bit more next. But what she does is she focuses on really having your child feel like the joy in eating. She feels like if the joy is removed from eating, then their nutrition can suffer. And so one of the quotes from her book is, "Children have the natural ability with eating. They eat as much as they need. They grow in the way that is right for them, and they learn to eat the food their parents eat. Step by step, throughout their growing up years, they build their natural ability and become eating competent. Parents let them learn and grow with eating when they follow the division of responsibility." So Holly, okay, great. So the division of responsibility is basically the caregiver or the parent, the grandparent, whoever's in charge of feeding the child is responsible for what to feed the child, when, and where. And then the child is responsible for how much he or she will eat and if they eat at all. And so this can be really challenging. Obviously, if you have a child who is having growth issues, that is a little bit different. If there's like growth failure or failure to thrive, or the child isn't gaining weight, these strategies would still apply, but this is more for like general feeding and how to sort of like raise a healthy eater. Because what we do as parents and caregivers is we're sort of supposed to keep them on a schedule and help them understand like where they're eating should be like a quiet, positive environment. Hopefully they're seated at the table or in a high chair, and they're not being force fed. So if, let's say, the child is 3 years old, and he refuses to eat, his strawberries and his yogurt, but he only wants to eat his cereal, then basically this motto is saying, like, let the child decide how much and which food he's going to eat. The hope is that the child will end up making up for it at another meal. And you're basically like establishing trust with the child as you feed them. Next slide, please. When it comes to having your child be picky or selective, some of these questions are, I think, important to sort of ask yourself, like, does your child get upset when he or she sees an unfamiliar food? I think sometimes, it can be challenging if the child has like sensory concerns. And there can also be other issues that are involved, like the child may become anxious or stressed. So it may not just be nutrition that's involved. There might be other support services that the child may need. But some of these questions kind of apply to how can you figure out if your child really is picky. So, how many foods is the child eating? Like, does it seem like over time the list is shrinking? Are there only like 3, 4, or 5 foods that the child is eating? Is the child only eating foods that are like, beige or white foods, refined foods, instead of like colorful fruits and vegetables and that sort of thing, where you might be concerned about the nutrients that the child is lacking? Oh, sorry. Can you go back, Holly? Thanks. Is it stressful to feed your child when you're not at home? Are you, we call it like a short order cook. Like, are you making special food for your child just to get your child to eat? So let's say it's mealtime and you're trying to serve a meal that you hope your child will eat, but instead the child refuses it, and then you end up making the child like a backup meal. And then are you upset about how he or she is eating and how much? So these are definitely red flags. I think that you can go to the next slide, but I think that when it comes to being like a short order cook, developing that habit can be tricky. You really don't want the child. I mean, granted, I'm saying child is a general term, but like, let's say we're talking about like a toddler. You don't want the child to expect to just be able to not eat dinner. So if you provide dinner and it's just what the parents want to eat and it has no available option that the child may enjoy, then in my opinion, you're sort of setting up the child for failure. Like, for instance, if you were to make like shepherd's pie, right, or American chop suey or something like that, that might be really unusual for the child to eat. But what you can do is pair familiar food with the new food. So if the new food is like steak or chicken, and the familiar food would be like rice and beans or corn and strawberries, you can pair the new food with the familiar food to try to have the child feel more comfortable eating it. And it's sort of a way to satisfy everybody. The other piece of it too is you just don't want to, like, if you end up just making them another meal, then he or she expects that, so that it's going to be harder to feed them at mealtime if he or she knows he can always have like a backup peanut butter sandwich or cereal or whatever it is. Thanks. You can go to the next one. So often I am recommending a multivitamin, and this is why I was so excited to collaborate with EllaOla, because there are so many vitamins and minerals on the market. And I think, like, as a parent, it can be really hard and stressful to feed your kid. And then I see plenty of families where I'm working with them and they're really stressed about like what their child is lacking, especially if their child may not have dairy in his or her diet, or some kids who are like prefer to be vegetarian or vegan. You get concerned about certain nutrients. So I see a multivitamin for a child as like, it's almost like an insurance policy for your diet, where it's going to help you fill in the gap for the nutrients that he or she might be lacking. So, in the Northeast part of the country, everybody should be getting vitamin D. Like, if you're not having, consistent access to the sun, vitamin D is going to be important to help us with our immune system. And then typically our vitamin D level would drop in the winter, especially. So a huge advantage of our kids and baby multivitamin is that it has a really good source of vitamin D. The other benefit is that the calcium in there is also going to help their bones grow. And for some kids, you know, I see a lot of kids that they just don't take to milk, or they had an intolerance where they were younger and they sort of like may have grown out of it, but they just don't feel like having dairy. So this is another really big advantage. Is I'm going to go into more of the nutrients a little bit later, but in my opinion, I do think it's important for kids to have a multivitamin. A big advantage for us also is that it's free of the top 8 allergens. Disadvantage, I don't really see any disadvantage except that sometimes it can be challenging to provide the multivitamin consistently. And in our experience, and with this particular, these particular 2 products, our hope is it actually will be easier on the family to provide it because it's a powder form. They don't have to worry about their child choking or chewing something that's gummy. And so I really don't see the disadvantage unless the child, for some reason, is on like a medication that would interact with some of these nutrients. I always tell people to, you know, make sure your pediatrician knows what supplements you're giving your child. But I really don't see a disadvantage in giving them a multivitamin. So preschool, the preschool age, my kids are older, but the preschool age is such a fun age. They are just absorbing so much from being at school and being at home. They're becoming more independent. And it definitely, in my experience, can be a little more challenging to feed this age group, especially depending on where the child is in preschool. So some schools are a little bit more restrictive. Some of the schools around where I am, you know, they're not allowed to have meat, they're not allowed to have nuts. So it can be challenging to give them a variety of foods. You really want the child to be seated at mealtime and at snack time. What you want to try and do is have them, they can drink water any time of day. I would not encourage them to have like juice or milk at snack because it can fill their bellies up and then they may not be hungry for the next meal. Some of the other like sort of concerns would be like if you're rewarding your child with food. So for instance, you offer like a new vegetable, let's say broccoli or green beans, and you say, okay, if you eat all of your vegetable, then I'm going to give you, you know, chocolate. So you don't want to get in the habit of rewarding them with food. They learn very quickly, and they also learn the power of the reward. So ideally what you would do is like, if you wanted to try to give them like a chart where you would encourage them to try the new food, maybe you do like a sticker chart. And if they reach a certain amount of stickers, then you can reward them with, you know, like bubbles or a toy or more time at the park, something like that. Grazing is where the child sort of snacks frequently. So it could be like your child is, you know, saying that he or she isn't hungry. Let's say you say, okay, well, you may not be hungry, but we have to go to school, so you have to have something before we go. Let's say you offer the child like toast and fruit, and the child has a couple bites and then says that he's done. But 30 to 60 minutes later, the child is then snacking again. This can also be the same situation if the child stays home and doesn't go to school, and you find them they're sort of like eating on the go, but they're not eating enough to actually stay full. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Like, I wouldn't say to the child, you have to eat all of your food. I would encourage the child to keep eating until his belly is full. And if that's literally 2 bites of the meal, I think I would maybe have a conversation with like, do you think that that's enough food for you to stay full until snack time? And if the answer is probably no, then I would maybe distract the child from like not necessarily focus on the food, but maybe you talk about some other things like activities that day or something that will be not necessarily like the center of the food is the focus, but you're trying to like encourage them without making it seem like you're forcing them. Because research shows when you force feed the child and it becomes stressful, it actually can decrease their appetite. So that plays a role as well. And then grazing can also be like excessive juice and milk intake. I've seen kids who are of this age that they drink a lot of these beverages, and what happens is it displaces their other nutrients and it prevents them from eating other foods. some of these things I mentioned already, but I really love this rule of thumb for the toddler preschool age. So 2 to 3 foods per meal, meaning 2 to 3 food groups per meal, is an appropriate plate for the child. So that could be like, you know, a fruit, a protein, and a starch, let's say. The rule of thumb is about a tablespoon per year of age for the child. So if you have a 3-year-old, you could offer him 3 tablespoons of the starch, 3 tablespoons of the protein, and 3 tablespoons of the fruit. And it always surprises families when they hear that, because I think parents and caregivers expect them to eat a lot more food than they need to. You do want to praise the child for eating well, but you don't want to make a huge deal out of it and make him or her the center of attention. You want to give a mix of the new and the familiar foods, like I said, and you do want to encourage the child to, you know, try the new food. Like, for instance, what I'll do is I'll say, it would be great if the child is 3 years old for you to try 3 bites of the new food. For some kids, the sensory concerns are an issue. And so that can also play a role. Like if the child is in feeding therapy, that's always beneficial too, alongside with nutrition. But you just want to be careful about the language you use around food. Make it a positive experience. I really love this handout. And so it's adopted from the Feeding Young Children in Group Settings, What You Say Really Matters. So I think like the language is so important, and the way we phrase things. So instead of saying like, if you don't eat that one more bite, I'm going to be angry, or if you don't eat that, you're going to be punished, right? So instead of that, you can say, this is a new fruit. This is a kiwi fruit. It's sweet, and like to maybe talk about the color. Or instead of saying like comparing, which is hard, definitely hard to do, to not compare the kids, but instead of saying like, oh, look at your sister, she's a better eater than you, or she eats all of her food, you should eat all of yours. You can say like, is your stomach feeling full? Does it feel like it might still be a little bit hungry? And then, like I said before, do you think that you ate enough to wait until your next snack? So these are just some examples of some like phrases that can hinder versus phrases that may actually help improve the behavior. This is also a really great handout from the USDA, and I love how clear it is with the food group. So for the younger child, it gives you like what food group it is, the age of the child, and then per day, how much you can expect the child to eat. Now, granted, this isn't going to be the same for all kids, but I do like that it also shows what the portion is. So for example, for a 3-year-old, you would expect him or her to have 1 to 1.5 cups of fruit per day. And a serving of fruit is half a cup, or half of a medium banana, or 4 to 5 large strawberries. So it gives you the food group, the portion, and then what that would count as. So I think this is really a really nice visual for families. So this is a little bit more detail in terms of once you get past that preschool age, the school age child. So maybe the child is like, you know, between the ages of 6 to 8, and we focus on similar, like obviously the same food groups, but their portions are going to be bigger. For instance, an ounce serving of a grain is a serving, and per day, this age group would need 6 ounces of grains. You want to try to offer them whole grains if you can, like brown rice. I love Dave's Killer Bread. That's a great brand. Calcium-rich foods are going to be really important. And if your child is not able to have dairy, then you can have them have an alternative like soy milk. But the downfall of some of the other alternatives is that there isn't much protein. So something like an almond milk or a cashew yogurt doesn't really have much protein. It does have calcium, but you definitely want to be mindful of like how you're pairing the foods for the child to feel full. And again, one of the benefits of our supplement is that it has a fantastic serving of calcium. So for the older kids, I have both boxes here. For the older kids, it's 270 milligrams of calcium. in one serving. And then for the little ones, 1 to 3 years old, it has 135 milligrams of calcium. And this is really unusual for a multivitamin. So we're really excited about that. So this is just sort of like a guide for an older child who is in school, the food groups, the recommended amounts, and then some tips. Okay, so I don't know how many of you guys like really know about dietitians. The difference between like a registered dietitian and a nutritionist is that anybody can say they're a nutritionist. So, Holly could write an email or a blog about blueberries and claim that she's a nutritionist, right? But a registered dietitian goes through the schooling. So you have to do your undergrad in nutrition. I graduated with my bachelor's of science in nutrition, and then you continue on actually to do an internship that specifies specific programs, and then you sit for the registered dietitian's exam. And you aren't able to do that without those credentials and without taking that internship. So if you do have concerns about the way your child eats, I would definitely reach out to a registered dietitian like myself. It can be helpful to keep track of what your child is eating, like how much of the food and what food is, and then how often the child is eating, because you want to get a better gauge as like, is the child eating enough and what the child might be lacking for nutrients. And remember, the division of responsibility is like, we as the caregivers have the power to try and help your child like have a positive relationship with food and have it be a pleasant experience with feeding. So these particular of dietitian and this was honestly really what we want.
Sorry, Liliana, I think you got cut off a little bit. Can you please repeat the whole thing? I'm not sure if everyone, and I think, yes, yeah, another person, like Liana said, you're cutting off. Can you repeat that again from the start? Like I think some moms saying you're cutting off, not just me. We cannot hear you. Sorry, everyone. Well, Liliana's fixing.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
Yeah, okay. I think it might have been
Yeah, drop in the chat if anyone cannot hear. We can.
Yeah, okay. I think it might have been an issue with my AirPods. Sorry about that. So what I was saying was I'm really thrilled to have formulated and collaborated with EllaOla to develop this multivitamin. So what we did is we broke it down into 2 versions. One is going to be for the little guys, 1 to 3 years old, and one is going to be for the bigger kids, which is 4+. And really what we tried to do was we focused on having it be approved by pediatricians and registered dietitians like myself. And for multiple reasons, I'm so excited about this product. So it is a powder, which is easy to provide to your child. It has 20 essential vitamin and minerals. There are no dyes, artificial sweeteners. We focused on having it be free of the top 8 allergens, which was also a big concern, especially for me, because I do see a lot of kids that have to really be careful about what multivitamins they're taking, because some of them do contain, milk or soy or traces of nuts. It has 0 sugar. It's vegan. It's gluten-free. And it's honestly a very clean product. And I think one thing that we really wanted to think about as mothers and as basically people that are focused on the consumer, like what is the market missing? And what were we really hoping to have fill in the gap that these other products really didn't provide? So aside from the things that we listed, Some of the vitamin and minerals, like I mentioned, hopefully you heard me say that the calcium for the bigger kids is 270 milligrams in a serving. And then for the smaller kids, the babies 1 to 3, it's 135 milligrams. That is like unheard of in a multivitamin. Usually you have to take a separate calcium supplement to get that amount of calcium. Vitamin D, also a really good source in the bigger kids. It provides 20 micrograms, which is 100% of the daily value. And then for the little ones, it provides 10 micrograms, which is almost 70%. Other nutrients in these products are choline and copper, which help brain development for your child. So until the age of 3, at least, your child continues to have brain development. And nutrition-wise, we focus on like fat sources. That's actually one of the reasons why we recommend whole milk, because it continues to help your brain develop. But there are other nutrients that have been shown to help that as well. Vitamin A is in our product also, which has been shown to help with eye development. And we also wanted to include iodine. So iodine can help with metabolism, which is also important for your child as they grow. And I know that I mentioned the vitamin D earlier for bone health, especially now that in the northeast part of the country, we really do need additional vitamin D sources because we're not getting it from the sun. But vitamin D has also been shown to help with your immune system and chronic health. So this is the breakdown for both of our vitamin and mineral supplements. So it's per sachet, which I love that this product is easy to travel with. So that's another benefit, is like you don't need to bring the big bottle. You can just carry, the sachets with you when you're traveling, and it makes it easy because you can mix it into yogurt, juice, a smoothie. It's very easily mixable. I did just see a question pop up, and I was going to touch upon that. So iron is a very important nutrient. If your child does not eat meat, but your child has like ready to eat cereal like Life or Frosted Mini Wheats or Cheerios, that actually is a good source of iron. We did not include iron in this particular supplement because it really affects the taste of the product. And we really wanted this to be something that tasted good, but it is on our radar for the future. It's just one of those tricky things where in my professional opinion, if we were going to put it in, I didn't want to just put in like 2% of the daily value because it honestly wouldn't have been valuable. And to put in that amount of iron, it would have affected the taste too much. The other piece to our product, which is also really great, is it does have organic fruit and veggie blends. So like I said before, the product is very clean. There's no artificial ingredients, there's no sugar, and it's easy to provide to your child. So that wraps up my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. Thank you so much.
So Lillian, I got one question from Jordan. Jordan,
Oh,
I'm asking you to unmute. I think you can you talk now? I think she can talk.
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, and I see your question. Hello.
Yeah. Hi. So, yeah, my son will be turning 1 next Thursday. And he currently, I strictly breastfeed. I also pump, and the milk that I pump, obviously he uses at daycare. Can I put that supplement and that like multivitamin in his breast milk? Like, does it work? Does it taste well? Or like, what would you prefer if not breast milk? What would you probably put it in?
Right. I don't see why you couldn't put it in breast milk. The downfall of mixing it with something that so if he's at the point where you're going to be weaning him soon and he gets used to having it in there, that might be a little tricky. Does he have a dairy allergy? Have you introduced dairy?
So he's had a little bit of like yogurt here and there, and he's
Yeah.
and he's also eating a little bit of cheese. And then once he has his first year appointment, then we're going to start kind of like weaning him off breast milk and
Right.
doing like, you know, breast milk and milk mixed together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and then eventually he'll be all, you know, whole milk and whatnot. So, but yeah.
Right. So that's why I was going to ask. Like, I think if you wanted to, so while the babies are breastfed, but I don't know if he's already getting something, but the vitamin D is important. So typically they're getting like D-Visol or polyvisol when they're babies.
Yep.
And the downfall about mixing it in the breast milk would be like, if he doesn't drink the whole bottle for you and you think that you're going to wean him, then he won't get the full dose. So my suggestion would be you could try to mix it with yogurt. Honestly, it seems like people really like that. Or if you're making him a smoothie with yogurt, you could blend it in there. To try it, you could do half a packet if you didn't want to do the whole packet. You could do like half a packet and then a little while later give him the other half. And then from then on, give him the full packet in the yogurt. There's nothing wrong with mixing it with the breast milk. I just feel like it might be easier, especially if you're going to end up weaning him, to mix it with the yogurt or like a smoothie.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Perfect. And I saw in Q&A, Lillian, there's another question. So how to add this multivitamin? So the schedule, everyone, like mom's schedule are really busy. So how to add the multivitamin into like kids' daily routine?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think that as a mom, like we sometimes just need to do what's easier for us. A lot of the time, it would be great if that was the case. So what I would say is try and do it when it's less hectic for you. So if that means at dinner time you give it to them, great. If it means that you just make it part of their morning routine, like you mix it into their juice or you mix it into their yogurt, and then I would just keep it consistent. So that's the expectation both for you and for your child. It is so easy to mix into the product. I don't know if any of you have checked our website, but my daughter and I were actually on there and she had been trialing different ways to mix it too. So I think that consistency is important, and I would probably do it at a time that it seems like it would be easiest for the parent. I also think like if you're feeling rushed and you're feeling stressed in the morning, it might be kind of hard to get it in then. So it might be easier to do it later in the day.
Great. And then another question. So we did a poll. It looks like 69% moms join. Actually, yeah, 64% people have kids between 1 to 3 years old. 29% will be around their kids is about like 4+ years old, and
Okay.
7% is both 1 to 3 years old and 4+ years old. I thought that's interesting to share. And another question is, so right now, it's the flu season. So how does taking multivitamin help with fighting the flu or immunity overall?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So like I said, vitamin D is important with our immune system. The research shows that when it comes to viruses, we can't necessarily prevent the virus from coming with a multivitamin, but what the research does show is that you can reduce the duration of the virus with the multivitamin. And so I think that that's helpful to know. We have vitamin C both in the baby version and in the bigger kid version. And that is one thing that you want to note. The other part too is like we have this organic fruit and veggie blend in the product, which should also help with their immune system, right? Because antioxidants are going to fight free radicals, and free radicals are what we want to fight to have a strong immune system. And so I would say a multivitamin is a really good way to assure that your child is getting the right nutrients, particularly once they've started to feel sick. I would say that it's probably going to help them too with reducing the duration of the illness. It's not a guarantee, but it's a good chance that it will.
There's another question from Ariana. She's asking, will they be able to read where each vitamin has been sourced?
Is that on the chat?
That's I think that's in Q&A. Some in Q&A, some in direct.
Oh, love it. Okay, sorry, Holly. Can you repeat that? Can we see where the vitamins are sourced?
Yes.
Yes.
Be able to read where each vitamin has been sourced.
Yeah, yes, you can. It's very clear on the box. I don't know if you want to go back to the previous slide, but it's on our website. It's on the actual boxes of the product. You can see exactly what the source is. We were very careful with vitamin A. I'm always very mindful of making sure that a good chunk of it is from beta carotene, because your body isn't going to convert beta carotene to active vitamin A if you don't need it. So some other supplements will only use like the active form of vitamin A, like retinol. But in our product, we were careful not to do that. So aside from like our doses being intentional and appropriate, we were really also very, very careful about which nutrients we use and what the source is.
So Ariane, if you look at this slide, you can see oh, sorry. So after each vitamin, let's see.
Yeah,
Let's see
yeah.
Like you can see it's sourced from like a beta carotene, like basically what a carrot has that, and also this palmitate. You can see the source from this supplement facts. You can
and along those lines, you know, we were also really careful to not exceed the daily value for some of these, for all of the nutrients actually, because there can be some downfalls when you provide, you know, like 500% of the daily value. It's not as much of an issue with some of the B vitamins because they're water soluble, or vitamin C because it's water soluble, meaning, you know, if your kidneys are working well, you should urinate it out. But long term, some of that is a concern. And the fat soluble vitamins like vitamin A, we wanted to be very careful with the dose that we provided. You're welcome for the reference. And then if I scroll up, Carly had a really good question. Yeah, I love this question. So she says, is there a recommendation for a daily limit on calcium? My 14-month-old loves drinking whole cow's milk, yogurt, cheese. I would love to give this to her due to being picky. But when it comes to other foods, to make sure she gets those nutrients, but was wondering if there can be too much calcium. So that's a really good question. And that is exactly why I mentioned with the grazing. So I love, like, the younger kids are fun to feed, in my opinion, but it can be really stressful. Like when you have a 14-month-old and he or she loves dairy, it's a great protein source and it's really good calories, right? So I would be careful not to give more than 24 ounces of dairy to a young child. Meaning like 1, 2, 3, 4 years old, because it can displace iron. So if you have a kid who's drinking 24 ounces of milk plus eating yogurt and cheese, what's going to happen is it can put the child at a higher risk for iron deficiency. So I would just be really cautious. I wouldn't stop giving him or her the dairy, because that's going to be a big decrease in calories and protein, but I would try and space it out. I would maybe offer milk like halfway through the meal or at the end of the meal, and not give, you know, like 6 or 8 ounces every time. It's a really good question. So the dairy is great, but I would be cautious of how much, because it can interfere with the absorption of other nutrients.
Great. And I saw another question here in Q&A. How do I know if my kids do not have enough nutrients met? Like,
yeah. So you're welcome. Thanks for asking, Carly. So that's a good question. So, like, I don't know if some people maybe joined a little bit later, but it's a red flag if your child is eating, you know, only a handful of foods. It's also a red flag so I guess if you're really concerned that your child is selective, I would try and reach out to a dietitian like myself and see if he or she can help you. Your primary care provider, like your pediatrician, should be helpful in that area. But honestly, in my opinion, a lot of times they just usually say, oh, it's fine, and they look to see how the child is growing. But if there are concerns with growth, then that's a bigger issue. If the child is maybe like more on the overweight side, or is well nourished and still only eating 3 or 4 foods, you can gain weight because you're eating enough calories, but you can still be lacking nutrients. So I think what I would do is try and keep a log, like a food and beverage log, for a couple days. don't let necessarily the child know about it. Like I wouldn't say to, your daughter or your son, like, oh, well, I'm going to keep an eye on what you're eating. I would do it sort of like discreetly. And then what we would ideally do is identify what your child is lacking in terms of nutrients. So like me as a dietitian, I work with the families to figure out like, okay, what is the child having? And I have a program that I can analyze their nutrition. And then I come up with a plan for nutrition based on what the child's lacking. I hope that helps. Is there a taste of the powder? Yes. Currently these two products are berry flavored. They taste really good. So I probably would recommend mixing it with like a smoothie that has like berries in it or juice or something like that. And typically I would recommend at least like 2 ounces to have it be mixed with. And remember, you want the child to drink the entire volume to get the full dose. Sure. Thank you.
Next question, really relevant. What are other ways to add this since her baby is a really picky eater, 18 months old?
Okay. I mean, we could be really creative, and I don't know. Some kids are eating table foods at an earlier age than others. 18 months, I would expect the child to not be eating much purees, but depending on what it is, I mean, you could puree a sauce or have a tomato sauce, sprinkle it in, mix it up, and put it on the pasta. You could mix it into a yogurt. You could mix it into a smoothie, like I said. Some people, you could even make a pancake mix. Holly, I'm pretty sure that we discussed that it's safe if it's heated. So you could mix it into like a pancake mix and make the pancakes with the multivitamin in there. But again, if you made a batter, took that batter and made a small pancake and mixed in the multivitamin with the small pancake, that would be your best bet. I wouldn't take the packet and mix it into a batter that's going to serve a family of 4, because then everybody's going to get a tiny, tiny dose of the multivitamin, right? So you want to be intentional with the amount that you're giving the child so that you can guarantee that the child will eat he or she will eat the whole dose. And then I see we have an 8-year-old. After his lunch, he'd go to the freezer or cabinets, look for food that he likes. How can he control his desire of eating on and off hours? I think that's a good question. If he is eating, if you served him, let's say you served him like a lunch that you know he would normally eat. Like if he loves peanut butter and jelly, let's say that that's the lunch. You give him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You give him milk with it, even if it's chocolate. And then let's say you give him some fruit with it too. Let's say he eats almost all of it or the whole thing. And then 10 minutes later, he's still looking for more food. You could offer a different, healthier food, like a vegetable. You could offer him more fruit. Let's say you offer him the meal and he doesn't eat much of it at all. He tells you he's done. And then 10, 20, 30 minutes later, he's going to look for like goldfish or a snack food. Then I would start to I would have a conversation with him if he's 8 about like, okay, well, what foods were you maybe missing at lunch that you really hoped you would have? And I would also maybe incorporate like some snack foods with lunch. So for instance, if he didn't like the sandwich because of the bread, maybe you give him like graham crackers and peanut butter, the milk and the strawberries. Sometimes I like to make like fun lunches out of like snack foods, but I really focus on like making it complete. So is there a protein, a healthy starch, and a fruit or a vegetable? If you think that he's eating enough and he's just really snacking because he might be bored, like those are other ways I would maybe look to sort of handle the management around food, because it might not just be that he's hungry. It might be that he's anxious or bored or other reasons. So I might maybe talk to the pediatrician about it, a therapist about it, that kind of thing. But if it's more just he's eating enough and he's just looking for more food, then I would maybe have a conversation with him like about why he thinks he might be hungry. Maybe he hasn't had enough water that day. A lot of kids that I'm seeing 8, 10, 12, they don't eat breakfast. So when you skip breakfast, you end up typically overeating later in the day. You kind of make up for it. So you really want to try and offer like balanced meals every, call it 3 to 4 hours, and not have them skip meals. Lauren, you're welcome. Lauren asked, how long after it is mixed in would it need to be consumed? Can it sit out or be refrigerated? I don't see, so, oh, sorry, my thought. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to let it sit out for a little while, but let's say you put it in a pancake and you let the pancake sit out for an hour or two, fine. If you put it in a yogurt, I wouldn't let that sit out. I would put it in the fridge, and then you would just want to make sure you mix it back up. If it's something where, like, you know, you're putting it in baby food, I would take the baby food out of the jar or the yogurt out of the jar, put it in a bowl and mix it. Because if the child is like eating out of the jar or eating out of the yogurt and their saliva is all over it, I don't think I would save that. I think I would take the food and remove it from the container, put it in a bowl and mix it up. And then you can save the rest of the food if there's left and put it in the fridge. And then it's like not really contaminated, especially during flu season.
So I got another question here. How is this EllaOla powder formula different from like gummy one or chewable, since right now there are so many on the market for kids with the gummy format?
Right.
Mm.
So it's much different. And this is why I'm excited about it. So the gummy, you know, can get stuck in their teeth and often has sugar. Our product has no sugar. Our product is easily mixable. And it's easy to travel with. The gummy, typically, I mean, honestly, for a kid who's 1 or 2, I wouldn't give a child a gummy because it's a choking hazard. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons. And some of the gummies, in fact, I'd say most of them are not as complete as our product. So Holly, if you can go back to the chart where some of the other products were compared.
Yeah, let's see.
So our product has 20 essential vitamin and minerals.
We cannot hear you, Liliana. Can you say it?
Of the nutrients.
Can you say that again? You got cut off again.
Sorry, I don't know why. What I said was that our product is more complete in terms of the nutrients. So a lot of times with the gummies, it's hard to put in some of these nutrients. It's very hard to put calcium in a gummy. It's very hard to put other nutrients in a gummy. Some of the other chewable in gummies do not have, for instance, enough zinc. Zinc is really helpful. Also with cognition, kids who are a little pickier with meats typically are low in zinc as well. And so our product, we also intentionally put zinc in. So aside from the fact that it's more complete, the EllaOla product is, the gummy is a choking hazard and it tends to have more sugar.
I saw another question from Amanda. So she said, my pediatrician is pushing a multivitamin with fluoride. I'm very hesitant about giving this to my 1-year-old. Do you see any need for fluoride in a multivitamin?
It's a good question. A lot of the younger kids, so that is a really good question. I think I'm obviously not, like, my profession is nutrition, but from what I've heard, you know, dentists really do recommend fluoride for kids because it can strengthen their teeth. I don't really know much else besides that. I didn't feel strongly. I was very focused when we were working on this product. I was very.
You got cut off again.
But I didn't think it was necessarily like essential to this product, but that is a really good question. And I think typically the dentist is the one that recommends that. But like, I know once the kids get older, my kids get a fluoride treatment on their teeth. And depending on where you live, your water supply contains fluoride. So like where we are, I didn't feel like it was as important because the water that we provide already has fluoride. So you want to be careful how much fluoride you provide.
See if there, oh, she said, thank you.
Sure.
Any more questions? Feel free to drop anywhere in chat, Q&A, direct message. Or if you if the question comes to you later on, you can reach out to us through like a DM or even like email. Like we are
Yes.
happy to answer them, and we plan to host this more often. And we also want to know if we want to make this helpful for you guys too. So make more interactive. And also even, let's see another one. So another question, Amber. So Amber said, my almost 2-year-old is currently taking iron, calcium, probiotics, wow, B and omegas. These are all melts and chewables. So he takes 5 vitamins a day to supplement his diet. He has autism and is a very picky eater. We took labs to see where he was lacking. Would your product replace all these supplements?
Good question.
Mm.
So a probiotic, no. We intentionally did not include it in the multivitamin. The heating would be an issue with that, and we look forward to potentially doing that in the future. Omega-3, no. Omega-3s are found in foods like fatty fish, like salmon and haddock. You can also get omega-3s in plant-based foods like flax, walnuts, almonds, almond butter, but you need more of it in the plant-based form than you do in the animal protein form. How old is the child too?
Almost 2 years old and currently
Okay.
taking iron, calcium, probiotics, B and omegas. So our multivitamin definitely has the calcium and the all suite of vitamin B, like all the 8
Yes.
vitamins.
So the B vitamins our product has, the calcium our product has more than any multivitamin that I'm aware of. You want to be careful giving separate vitamins and giving that many depending on the dose. So a multivitamin is great because the vitamin and minerals work in synergy. I wouldn't give a high potent dose of a particular B vitamin unless it's like prescribed for a specific reason. So depending on how much the child is receiving, I would double check the dose, the percent daily value. And like I said, typically a dietitian will look at the child's diet. Like I do work with a lot of kids who have autism and picky eating. And typically what I would do is I would get a sense as to what the child is consistently eating and what he or she is lacking, and then provide suggestions. So I do think that our multivitamin would suit his or her needs for the vitamins and the minerals. And then depending on what he or she is lacking, you might want to also consider some other options as well in terms of like iron. I don't know if he or she eats chicken or beef or something like that. So it's kind of hard for me to answer it without knowing exactly what the foods are, but I'm happy to answer more questions if you decide to email me. I just would be careful about giving the child 5 vitamins and other supplements in terms of the dosing.
Let's see if there's more questions coming up. Oh, so Amber said, thank you. He doesn't eat any meat. The texture, I think, his behavior and meltdowns have improved so much once we started the supplement. I really learned how important proper nutrition with autism.
Yes, yes. Good. I'm glad that it seemed to have helped. And like I said earlier in the talk, I would really encourage you to, inform your pediatrician about the supplements as well. Thank you guys so much for all of your questions.
Perfect.
And back to.
Yeah, if you guys think of any more questions, feel free to like email us, DM us like anywhere, and even like if you want us to develop any new product, because we are developing product for to meet your needs, like to basically what you guys want. So if you have any like thoughts, what products you want us to develop, drop us a message and we would love to develop that for you to solve your any problems.
Yes, absolutely. And if you have ideas, our hope is maybe to send out a survey too, a very brief survey with feedback. So if you have other ideas for topics for presentations, I always love speaking and educating, and we would love to hear what your maybe other topic ideas would be too.
Yes, exactly. So now we're going to announce the winner. I will check from our team. They pick a winner. The winner is Jill Trapani. Sorry, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Please, if you can raise your hand, and our team, Annie from our team, will reach out to you to give you the all this. Oh, perfect! You raise your hand. Perfect. Perfect. And if you can send me your email address, that would be great. And then Annie will reach out to you with the skincare gift set and also the both vitamins here, so your little one can try. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Thanks. This is really helpful hopefully for you, but definitely really helpful for us too to learn what are the questions, how can we help you with. And yes, we will do more and more this type of webinar and to create more value and help you in any term. But thanks so much, and see you. Thanks, Liliana, and see you guys. Anyone saying anything? Oh, so helpful. Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. Bye, everyone. Have a great day. So Jill, did you send me your email, Jill? Jill, can you? Oh, okay, perfect. Annie said I got your email. Okay, we'll follow up with you. Thank you. Perfect. Bye, guys.